Hello everybody, I am back with another video doing my top 20 games from last generation. If you haven't seen the first part, definitely go back and check out 20 to 11. Now we're going to get into my top 10 games from last generation. The first game on my list is actually a port of a port, originally released in the late 80s on the NEC, I don't know, some PC, and then later ported to the Super Nintendo, the TurboGrafx CD, as well as the Sega Genesis, and that is Ys 3 Wanderer of Ys, or Ys the Oath and Felghana, better known on the PSP. One of the greatest action RPGs I played, not only last generation, but just of all time. It is seriously one of the best translated games. I just can't even praise Xseed enough for bringing these Ys games over here to the West, because they are just phenomenal RPGs. The soundtracks especially are just incredible. You have some of these crazy like metal guitar riffs playing while you're just playing against these punishing boss battles. I mean, I play these games, there's like 5 different difficulty settings, and I play on like easy because literally, I mean, some of these boss battles are just infuriating. I mean, just incredibly difficult. Some of the hardest games I've ever played, but they make up for it in just gameplay and story and characters, and like I said, the music. The world that you traverse is so interesting and so just fun to explore. The games are seriously just absolute must-plays for RPG fans, and I honestly cannot praise Xseed enough. Falcom does the soundtracks to these games, and it only makes me more excited to play Legend of Heroes Trails in the Skies on the PSP, because I've yet to play that RPG. That's actually a turn-based RPG. But Ys is just a wonderful series that I'm so thankful that I've gotten into, and I wouldn't have if it wasn't for the gaming community. You know, my buddy Mike, Aerodynamish, and RPG Swagman, and of course Johnny Millennium, you know, and Splatter Trigger. I have to give all these shout-outs because they are the kinds of people that turn me on to these wonderful series, and I cannot thank them enough. But Ys the Oath and Felghana is an absolute must-play from last generation, and that's why it is number 10 on my list. Number 9 on my list is another series that I probably would have never gotten into if it wasn't for the people here in the gaming community, and that is Dragon Quest. This here specifically is Dragon Quest V, Hands of the Heavenly Bride. Just a really interesting and fun, likable, charming story. It really is. And what's really unique about this one, as opposed to maybe 4 Chapters of the Chosen or 6, is that it actually gives you some minor but interesting choices to make. You know, I'm not going to spoil anything. That doesn't really change the outcome of the game, so to speak, but they are kind of, you know, fun to be able to have some player choice. But what I like about these games most is just their simplicity. You play games like Final Fantasy, and you like them for the uniqueness of their battle systems and just the complexity of their story and stuff. But you're not going to find that in Dragon Quest. It's really just so newcomer friendly, and I think that's why I keep coming back, because I know exactly what I'm getting into every time. You know, it's very simple, turn-based, really button-mashing battle system. You know, there's nothing really to it. But I don't know what it is. It's just the character art, the stories are simple, the battle system, you know what you're getting into, and I don't know, that's really excellent game. That is why it makes number 9 on my list. The next game on the Xbox 360 at number 8 is Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, you may be surprised that you're not going to see Arkham City on this list, and while I do think and agree that it really is a superior game in every sense of the word, you know, they gave you so much more freedom to explore the city. You know, I felt like the combat was tighter and, you know, much more fluid. You know, of course, Catwoman was a playable character and stuff, but I just felt that, and oh, I do have to mention that the story in Arkham City, the ending especially, was just really kind of mind-blowing. But I felt that Arkham City did it first, and I thought that they just did it so well. And at the time that I played this game, I could not believe that they finally got a Batman game right. I played so many Batman games, you know, back in the day on the N64 and the GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2, and none of them ever really, I felt, captured what it meant to control Batman in a video game. And Batman Arkham Asylum did it so well. The battle system itself was just so addicting, and now you see all of these other games kind of borrowing from that mechanic. You know, the Captain America game and the Thor game and Now I'm hearing that the new Lord of the Rings game that's going to be coming out next year, that borrows heavily from this battle system. So it's certainly not a bad thing when they kind of set a precedent with a battle system. I think that's great, and it's certainly telling that a game has done very well for itself, and that's what you're going to find here in Batman Arkham Asylum. Excellent game, and I cannot wait to play the next installment, Arkham Origins here. Hopefully next year I get a chance to play that. One of my favorite exclusives for the Xbox 360, and those are few and far between these days, to be honest, and that is Alan Wake. Definitely borrows heavily, from what I hear at least, from a series called Twin Peaks. Just a really eerie, kind of mysterious storyline, has you playing as this writer, and the main weapon that you have in this game is a flashlight, which sounds really bizarre and kind of uninteresting, but really it is. You know, you have these dark shadows that come out from all angles and all sides, and you kind of have to flash the light to stun them, and then use like a shotgun or a pistol to kind of take them out and kill them. But basically, it just has you in this really deserted town searching for your wife, and you're this writer, and you just moved to this city, and just a whole slew of just really bizarre events unfold, and it's just really crazy to see how this all comes together in the very end of the game. And I certainly hope that we see a sequel on the next generation of consoles. Of course, there's American Nightmare, which is a DLC that you can get on the Xbox Live Arcade. I have not yet played that, but I've heard that it's just more of the same of this, and doesn't really progress in terms of the story and what kind of happened at the end of Alan Wake. But if you haven't played this game, definitely look into it. It's a third-person kind of action horror game. It's nothing like Resident Evil, but it definitely, I would consider, is survival horror, and it's definitely a must-play from last generation. That's why it makes my top 10 list of last generation games. I could not compile my top 10 games without including Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I played this for an unfathomable number of hours, and even to this day, when my buddies come over, this is the first game we pop in, because the list of characters and the roster is just stunning. The level design and all the different worlds that you can play in is just so clever, interesting, and just it's really amazing. It really is how much they packed full this game. And even the subspace and mystery area, or whatever the little adventure campaign is, I thought that was a really welcome addition to the game. It was really an interesting way to kind of go through and unlock characters. So I really hope they continue with that in the next Super Smash Bros. Game. But I could not, again, include or do this top 20 list without including this somewhere on there, because I just played it so much. And even to this day, I still continue to play it. It is such an enjoyable game to play with your friends. Excellent party game, and that's why it's number 6 on my list. The next game on my list is one of the very few games that I pre-ordered last generation, simply because of the commercials and all the advertisements and marketing that went into this game prior to its release. And I didn't even play the first installment in the series, but once I immersed myself in the world of Albion, I was completely lost and hooked, and that is why Fable 2 makes number 5 on my list. I just felt that this game did everything right in an action RPG that I was looking for. I love the world of Albion. I love all the characters and the very gimmicky and weirdo things that you can do. Interacting with the other characters with the directional pad. You can kind of just do all these really bizarre things to kind of capture people's attention. I loved how your character changed as based on the decisions that you made. So if you were evil, you started to grow horns out of your head. If you were really good, like myself, you started to have like literally a little halo, a golden ring above your head. It was just so cool. And I love this story too. It was just so interesting. I don't want to say it was a story of revenge, but it kind of was. And it was really seeking justice against the man who did the evil thing to you when you were a child. And I really, really kind of I don't want to say I could relate with that, because I can't, but I really was attached to the story, and it was very compelling for me to finish the game. And perhaps one of the best things about the game was your companion. The dog didn't talk. The dog didn't really do anything that really made him stand out, like Repeat in Tales of Vesperia. But he dug up treasure for you. He was just your companion along the way, and I like that. I really just found that to be a really interesting mechanic, because it was the first time I'd ever really seen it in a game. So I really, really enjoyed Fable 2, and I cannot wait for the Fable Anniversary Edition to come out on the Xbox 360, so I can replay Fable 1, through and through, because I never really got a chance to go back and play that game. So I really don't think it's going to actually match my appreciation for Fable 2, but hopefully it gets right up there because this is just a wonderful game and definitely a welcome addition into the Fable franchise. Number 4 on my list probably is going to make most people's top 10 list of last generation because it truly was just an experience like no other, and that is BioShock. Originally an exclusive for the PC and Xbox 360, but now, of course, it's on the PlayStation 3 and all other consoles, which I'm certainly not against because the more people that can experience this game, the better, because it truly was just an absolutely unforgettable first-person shooter as you kind of were just immersed into this crazy world of Rapture and just really trying to find out why the heck you were there, who all these different people were, who Andrew Ryan was, and just how you even got there in the first place. And these big daddies, these crazy enemies, it was just so bizarre. And I cannot praise Ken Levine enough for just the world that he has created here in BioShock. And while BioShock 2 was really just not a game that people enjoyed, I myself loved it. I mean, I certainly don't want to say I liked it as much as BioShock, but I felt that it was right up there. And even the multiplayer, people were just criticizing that to no tomorrow, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun. So I love the BioShock series. I'm sad to say that I have not played Infinite yet just because I really have not had the time being in school, but I certainly can say that I'm looking forward to playing it, and I have no doubt that I'll enjoy it just as much as BioShock from what I hear from people. So BioShock, if for whatever reason you have not played this game, you guys, you owe it to yourself. Whether you're a fan of first-person shooters or not, the story and the world alone are worth praising, and just the art style and just everything about this game is just so interesting. So definitely check it out. That's why it makes number 4 on my list. Alright guys, so I'm going to get a little personal here. I'm really not afraid to speak about this because it's part of my personal testimony, to be honest. If you saw this shirt here, this is actually a National Eating Disorder shirt. There was a walk that was held this past summer, and I actually didn't get to take part in that walk, but a friend of mine got this shirt for me. I actually struggle with anorexia. I have since my 8th grade. And, you know, maybe that's a story for another day. I'll go into that in a much greater detail. But this game here really, it's really not the game that I like. It's just the story behind it. I was hospitalized my sophomore year of high school for 13 days because of what I had done to myself in relation to my eating disorder. And at that time, you guys know that I'm a Christian. At that time, I actually hadn't become a Christian. I hadn't really professed my faith. And I was just so angry at the time at my parents and myself for putting me in the hospital. And I really had nothing else to live for. I wanted to die. I really did. And the only thing that really kept me sane at the time, as stupid as this sounds, but video games have a way of doing that. And that was playing this game here, and that's Pokemon Platinum. I know that's so stupid, and people probably like laughing. But for me, that's kind of what my saving grace was at the time, because I was so angry at everything. And just to be able to just lose myself in this game was just so helpful. And so that's why Pokemon Platinum makes my list at number 3, just because of the story behind it. And the game itself is so much fun. I thought it really kind of, in my opinion, was kind of revolutionary for the Pokemon series, just because it was so much different than some of the previous installments. I felt it was just so much bigger and so much more polished. If you look at, you know, Pokemon like Silver and Gold and Red, Blue, and Yellow, and then you look at this, you know, you've come a long way in the Pokemon series. And of course, it has one of my favorite starter Pokemon in a long time, and that being Chimchar. I just love him. He's like, he's a monkey on fire. I mean, how can you not like that? It's awesome. But yeah, it's really the story behind this game that really is the reason why I had to put it in my top 3 games from last generation. So, Pokemon Platinum, I've sunk an unbelievable number of hours into this, and I've almost completed my Pokédex. It's the only Pokemon game I can say that for. So, really great game, but it's really the story behind it. That's why it retains that number 3 spot on my list. Let's see. This number 2 game of last generation, without a doubt in my mind, is Final Fantasy 13. For those of you that know me, you'll know that I am absolutely obsessed with this game. Whether it be the soundtrack, the characters, Zaz and Lightning and even Snow and some of these other less likable characters for some people, I just fell in love with. And I just fell in love with the world, and perhaps the greatest innovation in the Final Fantasy franchise for me personally is the battle system in this game. Oh my goodness. A lot of people were just like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm on the sidelines coaching football and just, button mashing and just, there's really nothing to it. But for me, I just felt like there was so much strategy to it, and it was so unique and interesting, and I felt that it wasn't just button mashing. I felt like you had to be quick on your toes, and you had to, switch paradigms and stuff like that on the fly, based on what your enemy was. Whoever you were facing, you had to base your paradigm shift on them. And I thought that was so interesting. I thought there was so much strategy to the game, to the battle system, that that's why it's on my list. And the soundtrack, oh my goodness, guys, it is unbelievable. It certainly doesn't beat Final Fantasy IX for me, but it's right up there. And in terms of my favorite Final Fantasy game, I'm here to say that it has surpassed my love for 9. And I don't say that easily, because you'll know, if you've watched my channel, that I absolutely adore Final Fantasy IX and its charming characters and wonderful childish art style. It's just so memorable. But Final Fantasy 13 really just did everything for me that I could possibly ask for in a JRPG. And that's why it makes number 2 on my list. I really have nothing more to say about it. I can't praise it enough, and I cannot wait for Lightning Returns, the 3rd installment in the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy 13, definitely, without a doubt, makes number 2 on my list. Number 1 is probably going to surprise most people. It's on the Nintendo Wii. It's not an RPG, so that definitely leaves out Xenoblade Chronicles. But I just felt that there's really no arguing with this game being number 1. If you've played it, you're certainly going to agree. It may not be your favorite game, but I certainly don't think you can argue with me that it revolutionized the series, as it did on previous consoles as well. And that is Super Mario Galaxy. The reason why this game is number 1 for me is because when I first saw this game, it wasn't even on my own home console. I had actually pre-ordered this game for my friend and bought it for him because he gave me like 20 of his N64 games, and I was like, alright, well, in return, I'll pre-order the upcoming Super Mario Galaxy game. And I went over to his house, and just that initial sequence of events, I believe like Bowser started like taking over, and I just thought it was so crazy, because at the time I didn't even own a Wii, so I wasn't really familiar with the motion controls or anything. I'd only played like Wii Sports previously. But the fact that you could like point the controller at the screen and like shoot those little beads that you collected, and I mean, that in and of itself was just so crazy to me. But just how polished the game was. I mean, if you go back to Super Mario 64 and you look at Mario's character, I think I could craft a better looking Mario out of clay, to be honest. It looks like garbage. But this game is just unbelievably polished. I can't even imagine how crazy good Mario looks. And that sounds kind of weird. I'm not into Mario, I promise. But I can't imagine how polished the character he looks on the Wii U. Because on the Wii, it's honestly one of the best looking games last generation, in my honest opinion. And the soundtrack, honestly, has never been better in a Mario game, in my opinion. I know I always talk about the soundtrack in games, but that's honestly one of the standout things in a game, because you're going to have to play a game for, 10, 20, 30 hours, and if you're going to be listening to a soundtrack that is just terrible and awful and makes you want to claw your ears out, then you don't want to play that game. But Mario, you do. Mario Galaxy, it's just, oh my gosh, I cannot even describe it. If you haven't played this game, you need to. And the level design is so clever and so unique. Each time you go into a new world, it seems like every single level, so much time and energy and detail went into the crafting that world. It's unbelievable. It is certainly second to none on any other console. I don't care. I haven't even played Little Big Planet. It pales in comparison to Super Mario Galaxy, okay? Every platformer, I am like preaching to you guys here. nothing compares to this platformer. It is perfect in every sense of the word. And that is why it makes number 1 on my list of games last generation, because I did not play a game last generation that made me feel as happy and as joyful as I did while playing this game. I just felt like I just stared at the screen and was like, yes, this is why I play video games right here. This is why. Thank you, Shigeru Miyamoto, for this game, because it's wonderful. And I like the new Super Mario games, I do, but let's see the innovation that you had with this. The cat suit, okay, I'll give you that. It's cute, but let's see a Super Mario Sunshine. Let's see a Super Mario 64. Let's see another Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii U. Let's start selling that console, please. Those are my top 20 games of last generation. You may agree, you may completely disagree. I totally understand. That's why it makes this so much fun. Let me hear what your top 20 games are. Do a video response. Drop a comment in the section below. I truly do want to know, because there are many games that I missed out on. I want to play those games, and I hope you guys take the time to play some of these games if you haven't already. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Please let me know what some of your favorite games are from last generation.